America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I promised the board members that I won't meander on tonight, but I gotta say that since we just said the Pledge of Allegiance, great thing happened as far as I'm concerned in town today. A citizen reached out to me and said, Supervisor, there is a place in town with a flag, an American flag hung upside down. And went into detail in the email of when that is appropriate. Bottom line was, it's not appropriate right now. Within a half an hour, personnel from the town of Webster intervened and went out and was able to remedy the situation. I think it was unintentional by the place person that was hanging it, but all in a half an hour. Little victory story today. Nice. How about that? Okay, Dolly, you want to do roll?
Supervisor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Here. Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilman Abbott.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here.
Town Attorney Genesi, excuse me.
Attorney?
Town Attorney Genesi.
Present.
Oh,
Donna, I really appreciate you being on top of these minutes. I have looked over the December 3rd minutes. I make a resolution that they be approved.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Okay. John, I think you were in doing the bills this week, right?
Yes, I did. I reviewed all the bills, found them in order, and I would move that we approve the bills as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second. Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye. Okay, and I also went over the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance, and I propose they be approved.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye.
You want to take a breath now, Dolly? Okay. Paul, I think you're the next
Yeah,
four.
I have budget transfers. Some of the material highlights within are a $12,000 transfer to cover some database consulting costs that's currently going on in the assessing department. There's $9,400 to upgrade the highway fueling system software, which is long overdue. I don't like 2 decades. There's $55,200 to cover unemployment costs. As you may or may not know, the town does not pay unemployment insurance. Instead, they pay directly. In other words, for every dollar that someone collects on unemployment, we pay that dollar to New York State. So obviously it was an expensive year with quite a few people being laid off, so there's a sizable transfer for that. And then there's $19,405 from the general part-town fund to cover ash tree removal. That's actually phase 2. We paid the phase 1 bill a few weeks ago, and this is to cover the second piece. It's split between the general part-town fund and a number of the park districts. So that's the most of it.
I make a resolution to approve those budget transfers as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Go ahead there, Paul. You do a great job explaining this in layman terms.
The next resolution is a budget amendment. It also pertains to the ash tree removal, phase 2 of the ash tree removal process. This one affects 5 different park districts. They did not have the money in their budget, so we're actually expanding the budget so they have enough money in 2020 to pay the bill. So the districts that it affects are Town Manor Extension number 1 for $6,600, Clem Homestead for $8,540, Candlewood Park $6,987. Oakmont, $15,138. And Gravel Road, Cistern Hills, $2,330. So it's a grand total of $39,595. We're basically expanding the Special Parks District budget.
Unless any questions or comments from the board, I would propose a resolution to approve the budget amendments as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
It's the Paul Adams Show.
Yeah, I get the next two as well. Toward the end of each year, we take a look at our fund balances and our reserves and try to determine if any adjustments should be made. In other words, utilize some reserves. So the next resolution, I'm actually proposing that we utilize $50,000 from the Workers' Compensation Insurance Reserve and the General Townwide Fund. There's a current balance of $205,088 in that reserve. And the $50,000 would cover what the town paid out of pocket during the year for deductible payments. So I'm proposing that we use the reserve rather than use unrestricted fund balance.
Do any board members have any questions on that?
If you don't like the amount, you could propose a lesser amount. It's just that our deductibles were slightly over $50,000 for the year, so I went with that number.
Assuming that's why we have the reserve account, that seems like that would be the best way to do it.
Pardon?
Patty, does you agree with that? And just, the workers' comp policy that we have has a deductible component to it. And if we didn't, if we went with the, if I understand it correctly, wait a minute. One would be double the premium,
That's correct.
and we decided to go with the deductible,
That's
which
correct.
is grandfathered in by PERMA and the state, I think.
Yeah, we utilize PERMA. With a
It
high
saves us about $400,000 in premium. And obviously that was a good decision because our deductible payments that he's talking about are $50,000. So,
So, there's a significant reserve sitting there, which in my opinion is probably more than we're gonna need. So I thought it'd be a good time to take it down a notch.
I agree.
so based on that, I propose a resolution to approve $50,000 transfer for the General Townwide Fund Workers' Compensation Insurance Reserve A-00814 to cover a portion of the deductible payments made during the 2020 calendar year.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
All right, Paul.
All right, the next one is the same type of thing, but it's dealing with the sewer fund. The sewer fund has a workers' comp insurance reserve of $211,586. They incurred deductibles of around $7,000 during the year, so I'm just asking for a resolution to utilize the reserve for $7,000.
Any questions, comments? I propose a resolution to approve a $7,000 transfer from the Sewer Fund Workers' Compensation Insurance Reserve G-00814 to cover a portion of the deductible payments made during the 2020 calendar year.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
So this next one, is this Paul or Braden or both?
Well, I can tell you that typically, the permanent part-time employees have received the same COLA wage increase as what's been approved in the white-collar union.
Okay. And this is in the 2021 budget that we approved on November 19th?
It's in there, correct.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board?
No.
Okay. Propose a resolution to approve the permanent part-time employees to receive a 2% COLA wage increase effective January 1, 2021.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
And the reason why I wanted to know if it was more Brayton or Paul, since that was your last one, Paul, and we're moving on to another department head on these, I would be remiss if I didn't tell everybody, and the board members I think know this, but for those watching at home, your department and what you did with the department heads since March to remit for reimbursement to this town of lost revenues and additional expenses for COVID-related items, for FEMA, from the CARES Act, from the county. Today you reported to us that you have now, through your efforts and your department's efforts, totally team effort, $1.05 million in reimbursements
That's correct.
from an accumulation of those various agencies to the town of Webster
Well
in
done.
2020.
That's huge.
Outstanding work.
It really was.
Outstanding.
And because I'm on the phone every week with the supervisors of the other towns, I think you would grade as A+ in that effort
That's good to
compared to other towns. So thank you, Paul.
Thank everyone who was
Yeah, no, that was,
spearheading it
yeah.
and hurting the kittens, if you will. Yes.
A lot of times he had to herd me in that process too. So he chased me down the hall a few times. I thought he did. All right. I would say that this is Superintendent Herbst's resolution to discuss, right?
Yeah, it's annual event, accepting the roads at temporary dedication so we can maintain them through the winter. And there's actually 5 under temporary dedication, accumulating 1.04 center line miles that we'll have to maintain through this winter. They're binder right now. I went through, inspected them, made sure we're all good to go and ready. We had our first trial run today.
Well, then I propose a resolution to consider taking temporary dedication of the roads within the town of Webster.
Do you want to name the roads?
I think I do, Barry. Yeah, I was kind of looking at you. I thought you might want to do this resolution, being the old superintendent.
You're always looking at me weird anyway, so.
Sure, okay. So, you know what? I mean, this is right up your alley, Joe. This is stats and all that stuff. This is, you got Briarwood Section 2B on Woodsview Drive, 355 feet of footage from Woodsview Drive to cul-de-sac. Then you have Stonebridge subsection, section 4, Shallowbrook Terrace, about 600 foot of footage. Section 3 to the turnaround. Stonebridge sub-extension, section 5, Shallowbrook Terrace, about 430 foot of footage. Section 4 to the cul-de-sac. The Meadows, section 5, Grand Meadows Way, Quail Creek Trail. There's 1,000 foot from section 4 to Pine Lakes total, and 1,274 feet from Grand Meadows Way to Pine Lakes. And last but not least, Westwood Estates, Anna Circle, 1,831 feet of footage, Salt Road to the cul-de-sac.
Second.
Thank you.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
You already described the second of these two, right, with the permanent roads.
Yeah, these are permanent dedications. These have been topped, and now,
Yeah. So I'm not going to look at Barry funny, but boy, it would be great if he did this resolution and read the roads.
I'd be glad to, but Councilwoman Cataldi is the liaison.
Letty, you know what? You were a classier guy than me, but that's true.
Oh, okay.
I just thought, yes, you guys fight it out.
Okay.
You fight it out.
I'm not
With your blessing.
I'm not going to fight that. Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. I'd like to move to consider taking permanent dedication of these roads within the town of Webster. Arbor Creek, subsection 3, Pathway Lane, section 2 to section 4. Arbor Creek, section 4, Pathway Lane, section 3 to Pathway Lane. The Meadows, Section 2, Pine Lakes, Grand Meadows Way to Section 3, the Meadows Section 3, Pine Lakes to Section 2 to Phillips Road, the Meadows Section 4, Grand Meadows Way, Section 1 to Turnaround, Tall Birch Glen to Tall Birch Trail, Webster Road to Cul-de-sac, and Monarch Senior Living, Abigail Way, Lewis Wolf Boulevard to Private Drive.
Second.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Joe, before I let you off, it's 7:45. How long you been up today?
I was on the road at 5 to 4.
Oh, you're one of the late ones. Wasn't Joe Marapiece when he was
Yeah,
going?
well, they're on shift work, so yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
He came in at 1:30 and the crew was on the road by 2:45.
I know this when I left my house today, boy, the roads were clear. Thanks.
So we
First
made
one of the
several
year, right?
passes.
And so were the sidewalks, by the way. Did everybody notice
I
that?
did notice that.
Our new
I
sidewalks,
didn't get out there.
the maiden voyage for the Parks Department with their, I think their Kubota with the, was it a V?
Wow.
When were those
Thank
turned
you.
over to us? When were the sidewalks turned over to us?
That's a very good question, and Dolly, I take it we don't have, you're talking about as far as like what we just did is similar to dedication?
Well,
That would have gone through Josh.
it should have gone through Josh at least, but my question is, did we take the sidewalks from the contract?
You did a walkthrough on it, didn't you?
We
Yeah,
did.
we did the final walkthrough, but no, we have not officially taken dedication from the contractors.
The concern is under insurances.
It's a very good question, Bill, because, one, I don't think we have paid the contractor their full amount of money. From a legal standpoint, I don't know how that works as far as do they get all their money and then in exchange, we take the sidewalks. That that's their leverage, maybe, still it's on their insurance. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a very good question.
We may end up having to do a temporary dedication, just like we did for the roads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably the same thing.
Well, Josh, if you can make a note of that, let's take a look. Paul, I don't think you would know off the top of your head. I know we've paid some invoices. The contract's like $1.3 million or $1.4 million,
Oh,
but they haven't gotten it all. I don't
There's
think.
the lion's share of it is still owed to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know, I mean, this is my business mind that I can't,
right.
well, if I was them, I wouldn't want to be releasing it. I'll pay the insurance if I'm the contractor until I get all my money.
Well, the sidewalks are part of the right-of-way, correct?
Yes.
No. Some of the sidewalk is out of the right of way.
Or they're out of the right, so those that are out of the right-of-way,
Parts of them are, yeah.
those that are in the right-of-way would belong to the state of New York, right?
Not necessarily. I
What
mean,
about the one, well, no, the ones in the right-of-way?
It's still not necessarily.
No?
No, because if you look at like 104 from Salt Road to Bay Road, they hopscotch their jurisdiction. Some places were in charge of drainage, some places were in charge of the sidewalk, the ponds, the changes. It's based on what their verbiage says. So you'd have to, that would have been negotiated with the state regarding ownership maintenance in the contract.
Well, you know what?
Josh, we should probably get to this as soon as possible
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
quite technically, we shouldn't be plowing those, right? Because we
Yeah.
don't own them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am really thankful that Bill brought this up, because we can get this buttoned up, and that's why it takes a bunch of different sets of eyes to see that stuff. And as you know, many of you know, in Dolly, we've just got our first monthly meeting to take a look back at the last month's resolutions that we all did. Because what we found is in 2019 and prior, there were many times we did resolution. This board did resolutions where the supervisor was authorized to sign a contract, and then we never had that contract signed. So that's the type of stuff that can slip through the cracks, and that's why we need everybody on board. So Bill, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's the type of stuff that at least I don't like loose ends like that. We will tie it up. And I want to thank everybody else this year who's been on board to tie up loose ends that we found from the past. I really do want to thank everybody. So, get some sleep tonight, Joe. Hopefully no more snow.
Is what it is.
Now, is this you, Braden? Or is this Charlie? Or is
Not
it
me.
both?
Charlie's got seniority.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Well, you're creating a position, you're talking about the Director of Community Development?
Yes.
I think the town board has the right to create this position. It's in accordance with civil service rules, if civil service rules apply, so. Now that we have a civil
Oh, here he
service
comes.
expert on board.
You going to the podium?
Yeah.
For everybody who watches these meetings, this is the third time as a charm, you know. This is the third time these next two resolutions, derivations have been in front of this board at workshops and town board meetings, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the third time is a charm and we're gonna get through this tonight, because as the board members know and anybody watching at home, we have gone through this a few times, and I think the process has worked out, where we've been able to investigate things. And I'll hand the baton to our, I don't know if we can call him the new personnel director. You've been here long enough, your rookie is over. But if you can explain, Brayton, kind of,
Passing me early on my probationary period,
no.
then
No.
I'm still a rookie.
I said rookie, I didn't say probation period.
Mr. Supervisor, I just wanted to add that the position of Director of Community Development was approved for job title and classification by the Civil Service Commission on December 3rd. And so therefore, there is no even technical barrier before the action of the town board if it wishes to create the position.
Any questions or comments from the board? Well, I am really happy to propose the resolution to create the position of Director of Community Development for the town of Webster.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
I feel like I spend about 8 hours a week, at least, with this gentleman since June. So this is probably, up to this point, probably my favorite resolution that I've done in my first year. And this is a proposed resolution to appoint Josh Artuzo as the Director of Community Development for the town of Webster.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Congratulations, Josh.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard again.
Yeah. Well earned, let me tell you. Well earned, and boy, I'm looking forward to 2021 with that newly configured, still in process, newly configuring Department of Public Works in Webster. Okay, Braden, I guess while you're still up there, and I'm finding in the first 3 months that Braden and I are working together, he's a good yin to my yang. I'll be very verbose in the memo, and he'll sum it up in a way that is very concise. And I think you did that for the board as to really the 2018 through 2020, the most recent 3-year union contract between the Thousand Club, which is the police, and the town. The new contract for 3 years that starts January 1st, 2021 and runs through December 31st, 2022 is really very similar to the most recent contract, with the only changes being in the, I don't know if you'd call them COLA raises in the 3 years. I'll hand the baton to you.
Well, Mr. Supervisor, you're quite familiar with the terms of the settlement as you negotiated them with the union. And if I'm not mistaken, it was adopted unanimously by the union. And the terms are a 3-year contract with a 1% increase in 2021, a 2.5% increase in 2022, and a 2.5% increase in 2023. I had done a little bit of analysis for the town board, and the prior 15 years, the average increase was 2.5% a year. In this new three-year settlement, it is 2% a year, which my math teacher taught me is 20% lower. That hopefully is, well, I know the finance director gave it a blessing, so, but it's fiscally responsible from my perspective. And there were no other changes to the contract, no other concessions were given by either side with regard to benefits or terms and conditions of employment.
Two things I'd like to add before I propose this resolution is one, the 2021 budget that we just went through the last few months was a very interesting process because of the situation with COVID and the unknowns. And I think anybody who is, like I said, watches these meetings, when the preliminary budget was approved in September through to November when the final budget was approved, we kept them the same. But the department heads, and Paul, I point to you again and how you were quarterbacking this, various initiatives that started this year of efficiencies, bidding to get 7 individual contracts at 7 facilities under one bidder for like the cleaning that saved the town $90,000 annually. We kept stockpiling these savings, and I call them pseudo contingencies. The budget for 2021 still has $210,000 for cleaning and janitorial at the 7 facilities in this town. But the winning bid and what we've signed contracts on and are going to have in 2021 is $120,000. We are going to save $90,000 off of what's in our budget. I could reference a bunch of other of those initiatives that have saved 50 grand, 70 grand. But I bring that up because this one, our budget had the police salaries going up 2% in 2021, and this contract has them going up 1%. That's about a $30,000 to $35,000 savings off of the 2021 budget. And as you've heard me say ad nauseum, that's another setting aside, if you want to call it, of pseudo contingency should something unforeseen come up. And in this world today, unforeseen things come up. But I got to tell you what I like is that the team that we put together here, COVID was an unforeseen thing, caused a lot of pressure. A lot of people caved in from it. People coalesced here quickly, and I go back to what I said, Paul, you got $1,050,000 in reimbursements from several different agencies. That's how you handle situations that come up. So even though we're stockpiling this money, I hope at the end of 2021 the stockpiled money just ends up going back to the general fund. And if it does, as time goes on, as Paul will tell you, we can't just continue to build up general fund. All factors being equal, that would mean we bring the tax rate down to the citizens of this town.
There you go.
So, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. The only other thing I got to say will be much shorter. I want to really thank Barry. You jumped in, I asked you to jump in to help with this negotiation. And I really want to thank you, because I think where we got, I can read a room. I think when you spoke in that room to those 4 officers who are good men, they paid attention.
Thank you.
I don't know what that means. Age over beauty?
Who knows?
Well, whatever it was, you were extremely instrumental in getting this thing done. And it is, to me, it's a good contract for the police, it's a good contract for the town, which is tough to do. So with that being said, I propose a resolution to approve the union contract between the 1,000 Club Police Union and the town of Webster.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tolman?
Aye.
Okay, this is Josh, I guess. I know that the board has gotten this out to them.
Yep.
Yeah, so, we took a look at the various departments, took a look at the fee schedules, to basically analyze whether they're in line with, current expenses, whether or not we're continuing to even provide some of the services that were on the list. So each department, reviewed their current fees and then proposed changes that are all reflected in a spreadsheet that you should have in front of you. And I guess I would answer any questions if anyone had them on any particular fee.
You sent this out to all the department heads to review, correct?
I believe Dottie did.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if there is no questions, I would propose a resolution to adopt the 2021 fee schedule.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tolman?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
You know, I can't help myself. Quick sidebar on this. This is a financial item. Fee schedule, by no doubt, is a financial item, and I'd like to see us move to a philosophy, policy, procedure that as we adopt the town budget in future years, hopefully in October of '21, we'll be approving the 2022 budget. We get ahead of this, and at the same time, at that time, approve the fee schedule. It just seems to me to sync to that process.
Absolutely.
So there's no vote on that, but just
No, but it makes sense.
patronize me, I guess. And then the other, I gotta say it, I don't know if we've ever done this before. We were looking back at some previous minutes and whatever. But I did ask Chris Bilo to send over their Parks and Rec fees for the board to approve, and he was gracious enough to get them over. And I think that they were distributed out to the board members. So, unless anybody has any questions on the Parks and Recreation fee schedule for 2021?
I have a question, even though I don't vote on this. It says summer and winter. What are considered summer and winter for, excuse me, for the purposes of this?
I don't know. It's like golf. Do you play by summer rules or winter rules, Charlie? Because I usually play by winter rules year-round. I don't know. And which fee, let me just go, you're talking about, it's funny, I told Chris, you probably don't have to come tonight for this because they'll stand on their own merits.
So we're looking at the Curry Building and Liberty Lodges, summer and weekday, summer
Oh,
and winter.
yeah.
I mean, I could take a guess, but it's only a guess, that it would be Memorial Day to Labor Day, counting as summer, but we really don't know that.
I'll tell you this. Does the board ever remember doing a resolution on Parks and Rec fees in the past?
Yes,
Oh, you do?
yes.
Okay. I guess we didn't go far enough.
And I would say that what I would like to see that I don't see here, because I don't have these numbers memorized, what they were previously to what they're going to be now.
Or,
What the change was.
or simply highlight the ones that are changed.
Yeah, I have no problems
Yes.
tabling this because, and I'm glad to hear that you guys and gals have done this before, because when we look back at the last couple, we thought this was a new thing, but
No, we've
it
done.
hadn't happened
Yes.
Don't
before.
we usually do that at the organizational meeting?
Yep.
Yes,
Normally at the organizational meeting, we do all the fee schedules.
interesting, we looked at the last two, 18
And
and
they were-
19, going into 19 and 20. Now, obviously, the one last year, we could say, that was screwed up because Flaherty's a new supervisor. That's why we looked at the last two. We figured that with a supervisor who'd been on for 14 years, it would go like, and it wasn't on there. It doesn't matter.
We
It's
may
water
not-
to the bridge.
We may not have changed anything.
That could be one thing, but I will tell you this, I still would like to see in the future these always, at least, not so much on the Parks and Rec fees, but on the fee schedule that
Yeah,
Josh
the
went
fee
over.
schedule.
We need to do this every year on the fee schedule Josh went over, because we are ticking and tying those fee schedules to engineer estimates and letters of credit. And saying to the developer, that is the 2021 fee schedule. You can't, we've gone back in the last 5 years trying to collect some of these fees, and the developer, he's like, well, that fee schedule's from 2015, and I did this in 2017, or something like that. And we couldn't see where any fee schedule was ever approved for 16 or 17. So to sit there and say to them, well, they didn't change. You still gotta approve a fee schedule for that specific year and just note that nothing changed. Because that put us in a real bind with these developers as we're trying to go back and get fees that weren't collected for 5 years. And we're saying that was the fee based on when that letter of credit came out in 2016. And they're like, well, where's the fee schedule? Well, it's the 2015 fee schedule. But don't worry, the 2016, it just didn't change. That can't happen. So same concept for if it wasn't done when we saw it for Parks and Rec, I still would subscribe that we do it every single year and just note if nothing changed, nothing changed. But you can tick and tie to the top of that the year of the fee schedule. Takes ambiguity out of the thing.
So we would do it at the time we're preparing the budget, but it would take effect on January 1 of the
Right.
following year.
But I will tell you this, I have no problems tabling this, because I think you bring up some great points. What is winter, what is summer? We can assume, let's not assume. I don't like ambiguity. Every time something comes to my desk that has ambiguity, I'm in a real compromised position dealing with the other party. Specificity is awesome. Chris is great, he'll get us that specificity. We can also match it about what the 2020 fees are. We can come back on January 7th and do the fee schedule with that information. So I would make a resolution to table the adoption of the 2021 Parks and Recreation fee schedule.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
And January
Aye.
7th.
Can I interject something?
Sure.
Just a point of discussion. I think a lot of these things get booked at the beginning of the year because people want to, it's often competitive to get some of these lodge buildings, and I don't know when the reservations open up. I think it's the first of the year? January 1st.
January 1st.
So if we don't adopt this fee schedule until January 7th, what happens to those who've made the reservations on January 1st?
They'd go under the old fee schedule.
Right. So maybe this is something that we should consider doing at the organizational meeting.
Okay. I mean, it's certainly what we were talking, there are certain resolutions that are just not appropriate to do at the organization.
Right. But this is one we
This
have
one
done,
is appropriate.
and we've done it in the past.
I like it.
Not that that's necessarily the right way to do it, but
No,
I'm
but
just
it-
thinking it's a more timely matter
Yep.
than putting it off to the
So
7th.
org meeting, our meeting tomorrow, right? And Chris will be great. He'll get us the changes from 2020, if any, and specificity, if you want to call it, of winter.
And if we can all get that in advance of the meeting, then I don't see any problem with it.
Normally, if there was any changes, we would have to approve them.
Yes.
And seeing as how we weren't asked to approve any changes, I'm thinking that there aren't any.
Don't know that. Let's find out.
You know what happens when we assume, Barry?
I know, I didn't say assume, I didn't use that word.
I know. All right. Where is he? Oh, you sneak around, don't you, Joe? I hear that this is somewhat of a housekeeping item, this last one that's on our formal agenda.
It's a legal requirement for me to perform services outside the right of way.
Okay, so the fact that you guys plowed today, that 2020's resolution covered what you did, but come January 1st, you won't get up at 1 in the morning to go and plow unless we do this. Okay. Does any of the board members have any questions on this resolution?
No.
I would move that we authorize the supervisor to authorize the highway department to maintain the town hall parking lot and affiliated service roads up to, but not limited to, snow and ice removal.
Second.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Supervisor Clerk?
Aye. Well, there is one more item tonight, and I'm going to defer to both Brayton Connard as our personnel director and/or Charlie Jesse as our town attorney on this resolution as it pertains to, my layman brain says, this is going to put us in a position to schedule a public hearing.
Yeah, how about if I give the legal basis for this and Mr. Connard can add anything he wishes regarding the position itself.
Beautiful.
This is a proposed local law that we have regarding residency for the position of town attorney or attorney for the town, which under town law sections 20 and 23 require that if an engineer exists within the town, that we have to use a town resident. This permits the town board or the town to hire someone other than just a town resident. We can look for the best possible person within Monroe County or any adjoining county. By adjoining county, I mean a county adjoining the town of Webster. We have done this for other positions in the past, and there's nothing unusual about it. It's permitted by state law. It does supersede state law, but this is something that normally is permitted and is not going to be a problem. What we're going to do here is set a public hearing because it is a local law. The public hearing will be scheduled upon notice, upon publication of notice in the official newspaper. And it's up to the town board as to when you want to hear it. You can hear it because it can be done on 5 days' notice under the home rule law, or municipal home rule law, I should say. It could be as early as the organizational meeting, or you could do it on 10 days' notice and have it for the next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe is the 7th of January. And there's some things I have to do, depending on what the town board decides, as to when they schedule it, as far as getting you a final form of the law, which I'll take care of. I would point out that the law that I have proposed, that I have before you, has an optional section, which is in italics, which you can choose to either keep or delete. Just let me know. And I'll leave anything further up to our Director of Personnel.
Mr. Supervisor, the town engineer position is classified for the town of Webster at some point in its past history, so no additional action was required with Monroe County Civil Service. The position is competitive class, which means that an examination will be required of the candidates who are hired. The town has canvassed the existing list and received 0 interested candidates, and so has done a general advertisement. And we hope that that produces success. I'm optimistic on that. But because it is hiring off a civil service list, my recommendation to you in conversations with the town attorney were that I thought that a residency waiver was appropriate. There are at least 3 other towns in Monroe County who have town engineers who are not residents of those towns.
Charlie and Brayton, thanks. Do the board members have any questions on this?
No.
The question I have is, does this need to be read word for word?
No, it'll
Yeah,
be,
just
it'll be
generally.
published. I think we've explained it enough. The only thing I say is that the town board should advise, if we are going to put it on for the organizational meeting, matter of fact, if you don't put it on for the organizational meeting, if you put it on for January 7th, I would ask that the board advise me prior to the organizational meeting so I can give you a final copy of the form of the law at the organizational meeting, so I can comply with the municipal home rule law, which requires me to give you copies of the final 7 days before it's passed, so.
So
And we wouldn't be able to employ anybody in this position until that was done.
I'll defer to Mr. Conard on that particular issue, but,
Through you, Mr. Supervisor, and I apologize for that strange way of speaking, but I used to go to county legislature meetings for 28 years, and that's how we spoke. To the councilman's question, if the person was a town resident, then no additional action would be needed, but I don't think it would be appropriate to have somebody actually start who wasn't a town resident until the town board took action.
Okay. And I would say that when we were saying earlier about what is an appropriate resolution for the organization meeting versus not an appropriate, I think this would be not appropriate for the organization meeting. And we would move the public hearing
On the 7th.
to the 7th. Now, Charlie, if you need something formal from me tomorrow.
I will ask the town board, and I'll follow up with an email.
Okay.
But I would ask that the town board take a look at what's presented here, and if there's going to be any additions, deletions, changes of any kind, let me know by a week from yesterday, so that I can give you something at the organizational meeting.
So I would propose a resolution for the town board to schedule a public hearing to enact a local law permitting a town engineer to reside anywhere in Monroe County or in adjoining county within the state of New York, to be held on January 7th and advertised in the Webster Herald. Do we need 10 days for that, you said?
You can do, actually, all you need is 5 days
So it would be
publication, so
advertised-
anytime 5 days prior to the 7th.
So it would be in the local paper on December 31st?
Yeah, I think it's Wednesday the 30th.
The 30th, whichever
edition,
date is
and
their
we are, that's what we're in the rhythm of doing now, 8 days.
Okay.
You hit the date on the head.
That's my motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Okay. That concludes our formal agenda tonight. John, you gotta cut me some slack. I mean, it's 8:17, there were 15 things.
We had 8 o'clock in the bag.
Yeah.
You did.
I don't know if Karen has up right now for any call-ins from the millions watching at home, which would be nice. But 872-7011, if any town citizens want to call in, ask any questions, or wish the board a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. As this is the last board meeting before the holidays. We do have the organizational meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, the organizational meeting on December 30th it's open to the public, so in the COVID rules, it would be on TV. Okay.
December 30th.
I think 5:30.
Wednesday, 5:30, I thought.
5:30.
Wednesday, the 30th. at
Wednesday, the 30th at
5:30.
5:30. Yeah. And believe me when I tell you, Dolly McGuire, our crackerjack town clerk, we're gonna have that resolution agenda so buttoned up by then. Well, yeah, I can't, Kim is.
Yeah, sure you are.
Yeah. So, we got about 3.5 minutes left for people to call in. I guess I'll do the round robin. Joe?
I can say is that winter time is coming, and as far as keeping the garbage cans
Christmas to everybody.
You live
Everybody
great,
who's watching,
John.
everybody who's here.
Young at heart. Love it. Bill?
Happy holidays, everyone.
Barry?
Merry Christmas.
Patty?
Happy and healthy holidays to everyone.
Al? And I gotta go down to the other end. Braden?
May your 2021 be better than 2020.
Good chance of that. Paul?
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Josh, the newly minted director,
Happy holidays to everyone.
John?
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Holly?
Happy holidays.
All right. And John counseled me on this, that I gotta get the little cheat sheet instead of putting the pressure on Charlie to write, to read off, but I would like the board to enter into executive session. And this is employment
This is
related.
pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, Subdivision 1, in this case, 2 subdivisions, because I know that, I believe that the town board wishes to discuss matters involving the employment of, or appointment of various individuals.
Yes.
And so that would be under subdivision F. And also, I would ask that the board go into executive session to discuss pending litigation, which I would like to spend a few minutes with the board as well, and discuss something that's going on in which the town is a party to litigation. So that would be under subdivision 1D.
And that is the motion I am making to enter into executive session.
Second.
Supervisor Fleury,
Aye?
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Aye.
Councilman Abbott,
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
And that will conclude our televised meeting tonight.